This was supposed to be a film by Mrs. Corley. Mr. Watley couldn't work the electronics. Mrs. Lewis said no one else would have a go. So now it's time for Mrs. Stevens Phonics. This was supposed to be a film by Mrs. Corley. Mr. Watley couldn't work the electronics. Mrs. Lewis said no one else would have a go. So now it's time for Mrs. Stevens Phonics.
Hello everybody and welcome to day 16. Can you believe we're on day 16 of phonics? We need to look in our workbooks at page 35. And it looks like this. And as you can tell from the lines, we're going to be doing some high frequency word and tricky word reading and writing practice together. So make sure you've got your workbook open and make sure that you've got your pencil ready. We are going to start, as always, practicing our sounds. So important that I can hear you all the way from your house or your classroom to mine. So make sure you join in with me. I want to hear you today. Here we go. S. N. N. J. S. M. R. Ear. Ch. Ch. Ear. U or oo. E. Wa or ha. Or. Do you remember that one? Or. Pour a drink. Or. Well done everybody. So we have learned lots of new ways of spelling familiar sounds, haven't we, over the last few weeks, and certainly over the last few weeks of our workbook. Now today we're going to look at some high frequency words first, and you can see our phonic fairy, there she is. Now some of these ones we've already looked at, and some of them we haven't looked at so recently. But remember, these are the words that we see an awful lot in our reading, and we need to write quite a lot as well in our writing. So these are the ones that will really make it a lot faster if we recognise them straight away, and then we're able to read them straight away without sounding them out, or we're able to write them quickly as well without sounding out. So that's what we're trying to do. So let's take a look at them and see if we can read them straight away. This is the first one. I think we all know that one. And it says, what? I say what, you say. Good. And then the one underneath, I think we probably know this one as well. So this one, I say little, you say. Great, there we go. This one sometimes catches us out, doesn't it? Look at it really carefully. This one says were. So I say were, you say. Good. It's not where. Sometimes you get in a muddle, it's were, because where would have the letter H in it after the W. So were. This one says don't. So I say don't, you say. Good, perfect. And it's got an apostrophe there. So that means it's a contraction. We put two words together, do not, and we've pushed them together into one word, don't. And so that apostrophe shows us where we've taken a letter out, the letter O for the not, to make one word, don't. So keep that in your head, everybody. So let's go back to this first one. What does it say again? Yep, that's right. It says what. So let's look carefully at it. For the what, we can see the W and the H making that W sound. We know that one. And then the what. It's also a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because we've got the letter A making that O sound. But remember, when we've got a W sound and then it's followed by the letter A usually makes an O sound. We've learned about that in school. So W, O, T, what. So we have to remember that that letter A is the tricky part. So let's see if we can have a go at writing it. What? Let's talk about the letters. We've got the W, the H, the A and the T. Now we're going to do it a little bit differently today. So now we've looked closely at the word what, W-H-A-T. I'm actually going to cover it up with my hand and see if I can remember how to write it. And then you can try doing that in your book as well. Okay, so I'm going to cover it up with my hands and I'm going to write it what. W-H-A-T. And now I'm going to check to see if I was right. W-H-A-T. Tick, I was right. So you could try doing that too. And all you've got to do is to pause me each time and then cover up when I cover up and then have a go at writing it yourself and then take me off pause and we'll see how I did and compare with yours, okay? So we could do it a little bit differently today. So that first one was what? So let's look at this next one. Let's look at the letters first. We've got the with the letter L. We've got the I with the letter I. We've got the T sound with a double T together. And then we've got the sound with the L and the E together. Little. L-I-T-T-L-E. So now I'm going to cover it up. So you might want to pause me, cover yours up and have a go at writing it without looking. Here we go. You can unpause me now. So little. L-I-T-T-L-E. Little. And now I'm going to check. L-I-T-T-L-E. Little. Good. I got that one right too. So a little tick. So let's go on to the next one. Remember, just pause me each time when you've covered yours up and see if you can do it from memory and then you can watch me to check. So this next one, what was this one again? That's right, it says were. So I'm looking at it really carefully. I've got the worst sound made by the W and the bit. We've actually got that bit in the middle. And sometimes we would say ear, wouldn't we? Ear, ear, come over here when we see these three letters together. But that's a little bit tricky in this word. So you have to remember the were. So we've almost got the sound that we do know, and then we've got like a silent E on the end. We kind of see it, but we don't hear it. So were, we see it, but we don't hear it. So we have to lock that into our brain, don't we? So we've got W-E-R-E and a silent E on the end. So now I'm going to cover it up and you might want to pause me, cover yours up and have a go at writing it on your own. So if you're back with me now, we've got the W, the E and the R, and then I've got to remember, haven't I, that there's a silent E on the end that I see but I don't hear. And now I can check. Were, W-E-R-E, were. I've spelled it correctly, so another tick. I wonder how you got on with that as well. And then let's go to this last one, that one with the apostrophe, because it's our contraction. Don't. So let's look really carefully. Duh. And the O sound is being made by the letter O. So it's saying its name rather than its sound. And then we've got the don, that N sound, a little bit quiet in that word. So I have to really try and listen to it. Then I've got my apostrophe and then T at the end. So most of those letters are doing what we expect, except perhaps for the O that's saying O instead of O. So don't. So now I'm going to cover mine up. Good time to pause me while you cover yours up and have a go at writing it from memory. If you switch me back on again, I'm going to have a go now. Don't. So don't. I need a D, an O, an N, apostrophe, and then the T. Don't. Let's see how we got on. D, O, N, apostrophe, T. Don't. So we've got that one right as well. I wonder how you did. Did you manage to remember them? If you struggle and you're not quite managing to remember, it is okay to have a peek and then carry on, all right? Because that's how we're going to learn and remember. Now I need to turn my board around because it's time for our tricky words this time. And I need to get ready. So you can have a little bit of a breather, give your hands a little bit of a stretch after that writing, and I'll turn my board around. Okay, good. We can still see the board. So here are our tricky words. These are the ones that are often spelled in really unusual ways, but we still have to train our brain just to remember them, because that way our reading becomes faster and more fluent, which means it flows nicely, and our writing becomes faster as well because we can remember how to write the words. So let's have a look at this first one. It's one we've been practicing recently, so we should know it. This one says, that's right, it says people, doesn't it? So I say people, you say brilliant. And then underneath, have a good look at it. This one says their, as in that is their house, or that is their pen. So their, as in belonging to somebody, there. So I say there, you say, well done everybody. This one, we see this quite a lot, and we have looked at it before. This one says asked. I asked you to listen really carefully, didn't I? Asked. So I say asked, you say good, excellent. And then this one we have practiced recently. Do you remember it? That's right, it says could. So I say could, you say brilliant. So we've got people, there, asked and could. So those are our tricky words. Let's have a little look at them just to remind us of what's tricky about them, because that helps the letters and the look of the word get into our brain and stick. So people, we've got the P sound, and then we've got that E sound, but it's not spelled in the way we would expect. It's actually spelled here with an E and an O, so it's a really unusual spelling. That's why we have to train our brain just to remember. So we've got the P, E, P. The letter P making the P sound, so that's okay. And then the UL at the end, our rumble in the jungle sound, people. So just that middle part here, that's a little bit unusual, isn't it, in that word? So we have to really remember. So we're going to try it in the same way when we come to writing this word this time. We're going to try to do that cover-up method. So you can pause me in between if needs be, or just have a go at covering and writing with me. But I am going to say the letter names, so that should help a little bit. So people, I'm having a good look at it. Now I'm going to cover it up. So you could pause me now perhaps and have a go at covering yours up and writing. Otherwise you can write with me, people. So for the people I need the P for the P. And now for the E part, oh yes, I've got to remember the unusual spelling with the E and the O together. Then the P is the P, and the UL is my rumble in the jungle, L-E, people. And have I done it? P, E, O, P, L, E. Yes, I have. I've got all those letters in the right places. Good job. So let's have a look at this next one. There. This one here, I'm just going to put an arrow so you know where we are. There. So let's have a look at it carefully. I've got the Z. That's okay, TH for Z. But the air sound is really unusual. I've got the letter E making that air sound. I would expect it to be an A, as in air, fair hair. Do you remember? So that's the unusual part. So I've got to remind myself in the word there, the unusual part is with the letter E. So there. So here I go. I've got the T and the H making the Z sound. E, I, R making the air sound. So I'm going to cover it up. You could pause me now if you're going to have a try on your own. Otherwise, there, let's have a think. For the Z sound, oh, put my lid down. For the Z sound, I need the T and the H. And for the air sound, now I have to remember it's unusual. It's not air, fair hair. I've got the letter E this time with the I and with the R making that air sound. And then I'm going to check T, H, E, I, R. Check. Well done. We've got those right there. So we do a look, we say, we cover, we write, and then we check. Okay? So this next one, here we are over here. Do you remember what that one says? Tell me. Yeah, it says asked, doesn't it? Asked. In some parts of the country, they might say asked, and it makes it a bit easier to spell that way. But we generally say asked. So the R sound is actually being made, isn't it, by the letter A. The letter A is saying R in that. Asked. So I've got the s, k, and the d sound we've talked about before. Almost 2 letters, isn't it? The E and the D together making that d sound at the end. Asked, asked. Okay, so I've just got to remember that tricky part really is the A at the beginning making an R sound on its own, and the D at the end is the E and the D together. So that's the bit I've really got to train my brain to remember. So we've said it, we've looked at it, now we're going to cover it up. You can pause me if you like, and now we're going to have a go at writing it. Asked. A, S, K is the K, and the D is the E, and the D together. Asked. And now we need to check. Asked. A, S, K, E, D. Asked. Asked. Well done. So now we've had a go at that one. Our final one today is this one. You know this one, so tell me what it is. Yeah, it says could, doesn't it? So could. Let's have a good look at it. So for the k, that's okay. We've got the C. The sound is being made really by those 3 letters. K, ud. The O, the U and the L is making that sound, which is a little bit unusual, and then the D at the end. So that's an unusual part in this word that I've got to just remember, train my brain, which is why it is tricky. The O, the U and the L, k-ud. The is made with those 3 letters. So now we've said it and we've looked at it, we can cover it up and see if we can have a go at writing it from memory. So you can pause me now, or you can just join in with me. So could, for the k, I need the C. For the I've got to remember 3 letters, the O, the U and the L. And then finally at the end is the D, so I need the D. Could. And now we're going to check. C, O, U, L, D. Could. So we got that one right. Oh, and that one, didn't we? So now we have looked at our tricky words and our high frequency words today. Practice reading them and practice writing them. You could go back and keep practicing that look, say, cover, write method, couldn't you? That would be good. So have a good day everyone, and I'll see you next time.
This was supposed to be a film by Mr. Watley. Mrs. Corley had too many gin and tonics. Mrs. Lewis said no, no one else would have a go. So now it's time for Mrs. Stevens Phonics. This was supposed to be a film by Mr. Watley. Mrs. Corley had too many gin and tonics. Mrs. Lewis said no, no one else would have a go. So now it's time for Mrs. Stevens Phonics.